All right, so today we're starting a new series called Seasons Change. How many of you guys got something out of Fog Life? The favor of God? Yeah, amen. Wait until you hear the testimonies that have come out of it. I'm telling you, utterly amazing testimonies. We'll be sharing those with you over the next couple of weeks. But we're going to start this series called Seasons Change. And what we have on the stage is we try to give you a couple of ideas around seasons. You know, what's interesting is right now in the church, we have the heat on and the air conditioning. Right? Because we kind of stuck in seasons. Now, y'all, how many of y'all got your shorts out like 3 weeks ago when it turned 80? How many pulled your fur back out with your shorts? Come on now. You had flip-flops on and a mink. It's all right. But with the reason that I'm talking about seasons changes for a reason. I want you to grasp what I'm saying. Seasons change. Now, we know there's a winter season, and winter is my least favorite. I'm not going to say I hate it, but it's my least favorite season. But the interesting thing about that season, I know that it is going to change. Even if it extends over time, even if it snows in May. Didn't it snow last year in May, right? Right? And so what you have to realize is that even though I may not like the season, I know the season has an expiration date. And so what I want to help some of you realize is some of your challenges are you think you're going to stay here forever. And what's challenging is the season is changing, but you're not. God is saying, hey, I'm over here in summer. I'm about to do some new things. There's some brightness coming, but you're acting like it's winter. You don't believe me? That's how people get stuck in seasons. That's why people wear clothes and they look like it's 1982. Some of y'all got jellies in your closet right now. Do y'all know what jellies are? I told last week I talked about having a phone with a cord, and after church, one of the people was like, so when do you mean there was a cord? I was like, Joker, there was a cord in the wall, and you only got to go as far. He was like, man. I said, say I'm old, I will knock you in Jesus' name. No, what I want you to understand is you can get stuck in a season. And the problem is when you get stuck in a season, you're the only one that looks crazy. See, if I'm in winter with shorts on and walking outside with short sleeves on, you're going to look at me like I'm crazy. You're not going to look at the season. See, the other thing that's very interesting about seasons is this. If you're not careful, you will think that current season is the season for planting, and it's not. Do you know that you can plant the right thing in the wrong season and then not get the results you want? If I go in my yard in winter and start planting my flowers, it's not anything wrong with the seed or the flower. It is the wrong. If I go here in the fall while the ground is looking bad and I say, hey, this is a great time to start putting a pool in, it's not because it's not the right season. Some of you have the right idea, but you've been acting on it in the wrong season. So what I want to help you through this series is to open your eyes up to go, hey, my season is going to change. For everyone who's feeling a little downhearted, feeling a little stuck, feeling a little like this isn't working, I've come to tell you something. Your season is going to change. Now, I'm talking about these seasons, but I'm also talking about your life seasons. Some of you can be by age. Some of you can be by, your kids might be getting to a certain age. You might be getting to a certain place in your career, whatever it is. But I want you to understand God is not going to leave you. Because changing, today when I want to talk specifically about this is you've got to change with the season. You've got to go where God is going in the season. And if you don't go, then don't go around saying, God has forgotten about me. God's not showing up. God is like, I am showing up. I'm just over here and you're over there. I'm over here trying to hook something up and you back here complaining about what happened. You know what else happens in seasons? You can get stuck telling the same story. You don't know what happened to me in 87. What is 2000? You don't know what they did to me. Get out of that season. Because you know what happens when you're planting more of the same thing. Do you know the same fruit produces the same thing from the same seed over and over again? What are you planting in your season? Today I want to talk about specifically building your faith as seasons change. So here's what it says in Ecclesiastes. For everything there is a season. That means it's going to come to an end. For everything there's a season. Sometimes it is a great season. Everything is wonderful. I just told Pastor Jori, we came out the house the other day, and I heard birds singing, and I was like, thank you, Jesus. Season is changing, right? For everything there is a season. There is a time for activity under heaven, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to harvest. you have to start thinking like, okay, is this a season to harvest? There's a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant, a time to harvest. There is also a time for you to really start to put yourself in a position to go, I must let some things die. Have you ever recognized you're in a season to let things die? Some relationships you need to let die. Do not resuscitate. Do not bring back to life. Do not answer the phone call to get into the same conversation you've had. Do not date them again. Ooh, Jesus, that came out. You know some of y'all date the same person over and over again, and then like, he not changing, she not changing. She told you that. Right? It's a time to be born, a time to kill, and a time to heal, a time to tear down, and a time to build up. If God is trying to tear something down, but I'm trying to build it back up, who's messing up the season? Right? When I built my first house from the ground up, I mean, can you imagine they trying to build and I'm trying to tear it down? They'd be like, you're messing up the work. I saw something on the internet this morning. This sheep was trying to jump this canal, and the canal was probably 6 feet. So it jumps and it gets in the water. And then there's this sheep herder helping get the sheep out. And the caption said, this is literally me with God coming to rescue me out of my mistakes. So he gets the sheep out. The sheep gets out. The sheep herder goes like this. He's standing like this. Then the sheep turns and jumps right back in it. How many of us are turning after God has gotten you out of it? Oh, you don't have to say amen. It's okay. I already know. God told me to tell you. I know some of you are like, not my sermon. It is. It's for you. A time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down, a time to build up. Right? And what you have to start figuring out is God building right now? But you know what happens sometimes before building? There's a plan. There's a time to cry and a time to laugh. Some of you you got to stop crying. And I'm not saying it's not a messed up situation. I'm not taking away from that. What I am saying is, but let that season end if God is trying to bring you into a season of joy. It may look different. It may feel different. It may not be comfortable. There is a time to grieve, but there's also a time to dance. Now, many of you guys know my last name's Thibodeaux, born in New Orleans, so all of us came from there. But I hadn't spent that much time there, kind of back and forth. So I went to, I think it was my aunt's funeral about, maybe a year before COVID. And so I go to the funeral. We do the funeral. My dad had words about his sister, and, just a normal funeral. And, people are grieving and crying, and it was, it's obviously hard. And then we came outside, and anybody know what a second line is? A second line is they literally have a band. And I mean drummers, trumpet players, and everybody gets behind the hearse after they put the body in, and they have umbrellas, and we're dancing. And I remember saying to my dad and my mom, I was like, this is something else. Because I said, Aunt Kitty's not even in the ground yet. But my cousins and people who were familiar with his life, they were looking forward to the dancing part. Well, I'm still trying to cry. I'm just asking you, is God trying to dance, and are you still crying? It's time to change seasons because God is changing seasons. So what I need you to start to say to yourself is, what season am I in right now? Say that to yourself. What season am I in? So here's what I want you to think about. So Moses in the Bible, I don't have time to go through the whole thing because if I did, it'd be late, and then I don't go back to FLC because I keep you there all day. We're not doing that. But there's a story about Moses. So here's what happened with Moses. Moses grows up in the kingdom after his mother sends him down the canal. The daughter of Pharaoh finds him and adopts him and raises him in the kingdom. But then at a certain point, Moses realizes and finds out he's actually a Hebrew and not an Egyptian. So he gets upset one day when he sees someone beating on a slave because now he's realizing what he used to spit on is actually who he is. It's amazing what can happen when your eyes open up to who you really are. It's another season. Some of you are coming to a season you're realizing I'm bigger and better than people told me. I'm better than the lineage you put me in. I'm actually, because see, your bloodline doesn't stop with your great-grandfather. It starts and stops with God. So Moses eventually gets really mad. He beats this guy up and he kills him, and then he runs off. And when he runs off, he winds up spending all this time into the wilderness. And he meets his wife, Sarah, and all these other things happen. So when he goes there, right? So a season of preparation and building faith is what I want to talk about today. Keeping in mind, seasons change. So Moses is now out there, right? He's in the wilderness. He's far away from what he's familiar with. Now watch this. Sometimes when you get in the next season, you're going to get away from what you're familiar with. You go to a company, nobody knows you. You move to a land, nobody gets you. You move to a neighborhood that people don't understand you. It doesn't mean you're in the wrong place. It just may mean you're in a different season. So here's what happened. So God then comes to Moses while he's in this wilderness by himself. He's not really around many people. He has left a kingdom. He's left everything he knows. And here's what it says. And God spoke to him and says, I have indeed heard the cry of my people, and I see how the Egyptians are oppressing them. Now I'm sending you to the king of Egypt, Moses, so that you can lead my people out of his country. So Moses is just out in the field, literally doing some work, and God says, hey, I need you to go and talk to the president of the land and tell him to stop doing his economy the way he's doing it and do it a different way. Think of it that way. But Moses said to God, I am nobody. I'm just a nobody. Trying to tell. Some sad songs, ain't it? But Moses said to God, I'm nobody. How can I go to the king and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? Now, before you judge Moses, let's understand Moses. Moses like, I'm out here in these streets. I'm out here cleaning in the backyard. I got this little job I got doing. And you want me to go to the most important person in the world right now and go walk in and tell them what to do? What if God is changing your season in a way that you got to step up and do something bold? What if your next season is going to require you to do something that's uncomfortable to you? What if your next season is going to pull you up to do something you're like, man, that's not really what I normally do? So Moses says, hey, I can't do this. He said, how can I go to the king and do this? And God answered. He says, I will be with you. The first thing I want you to capture, here's your little takeaway is this. When God changes you in seasons, he's with you. When God takes you from your spring into your summer, he's with you. Don't think that God is going to ask you to do something without giving you the support you need to do it. It is time for your business to switch seasons. It is time for your relationship to switch seasons. It is time for you to stop being sick all the time and get yourself in position to live in a healed season. I've come to tell somebody, God is changing seasons. He says, I will be with you, Moses. I know you don't understand how to do this. I know this is tough. I get that. He says, but I will be with you. And when you bring the people out of Egypt, what I love about God, he always talks about what he's getting ready to do with you. He says, listen, I first need you to go and do this. I'll be with you. And when you do it, I've come to tell somebody, you're about to go into a when-you season. I'm telling you, I'm believing you're getting ready to go into a season of, man, God has already promised something. Come on, you already know you have a dream. You already know you have a vision. You already know you're better than where you are. But you're trying to understand. You're like, I'm a nobody, pastor. But I've come to tell you, when God is with you. Thus, this person actually said something to me yesterday, so now I get opportunity not to pick on them, but to use them. So, Brother Ravi, could you come up here so I can use you as part of my illustration? Y'all should see his face. He did this right now. He's like, oh, Lord Jesus. Oh, and yeah, Pretty Ricky, what they called him. Come on up here. Come on. So I need you to understand something. Come this way. God answers, he says, I will be with you. And when you bring the people out of Egypt, you will worship me on this mountain. That will be the proof that I have sent you. So what I need you to understand is if I don't have the money to do something, if Ravi has the money, and Ravi got money. No, if Ravi has the money to do it, when I'm with Ravi, I'm good. But if Ravi has all the resources I need to do what I need to do in this next season, but I don't go with Ravi, it's not that the resources are not there. It's just that I'm not going where the resources are. If God is saying, I got everything you need for this next season, you've got a choice to make this morning. You can either swoop up with God or stand over here and cry in your season. What I've come to tell somebody, this is the season to move over. This is the season to hook up with God. And wherever I go, he go. Wherever I'm doing, he doing. See, this is just why I wouldn't bring you up here. He's getting carried away. Everybody think they Denzel when they get up here. Did I ask you that?
I was pointing at Brett Carter.
He's pointing at Brett Carter. Get Robbie. I appreciate it. God will be with you. Somebody say, God is with me. How dare you not go where God is going? How dare you think that? I should have showed you the other part of the illustration is him pulling and I'm pulling back. God is trying to pull some of you pulling back. No, God, we're staying in winter. Hold on. Ooh, no, Jesus. Looks like you don't fall. You don't fail. This isn't it. You don't throw in the towel. This is your time to get up and be like, this season is changing for me. I saw this boxer not that long ago, well, years ago. He was in the middle of the fight and he was losing. And when he went into his corner, the guy was with the towel, threw the towel in the fight. So he goes ding, and so the referee's getting ready to call it. The boxer came up, picked up the towel, and threw it back out. Stayed in the fight and found himself getting in the fight. His corner threw the towel in again. They didn't want him to get hurt. They wanted to help him. But the man picked it up and threw it out again. Some of you got to throw these towels out your ring. You got family members like, I'm just helping you. You're not helping me saying that. You know, your teacher is saying, no, you're not the right teacher for me then. See, what I'm saying to you is if God is getting ready to be with you, why are you worried about this thing? But Moses was being, this is what I love about Moses. Moses was real. Moses was like, And he says, God answered, he says, I will be with you. And when you bring the people out of Egypt, you will worship me on this mountain. You're going to come back to this same spot. You're going to come back to your same neighborhood. You're going to come back to the same company. You're going to come back in front of the same people. You're going to come right back here where I told you this. That will be the proof. See, what I love about this is there is proof coming. See, I'm tired of living a life of Christianity where people think it's a wishing well. Wishing well, I'm kissing tell. Anybody remember? Everybody from MTV era was like, you better sing that. Right? You wishing. But see, I don't live in a wishing God. I live in a living God. When I pray to him, I'm like, I know you got up. I know you woke up this morning because you talked to me. I know you're here because the sun was up. I know you're here. Why? Because the grass is fighting its way through dead grass. I know you're still alive. I want proof in my life. I want people to look at my life. I want them to look at my marriage. I want them to look at my health. I want them to look at my children and say out of their own mouth, God must be still alive. He says, that will be the proof that I have sent you. But then Moses being Moses, Momo, that's what I call him. Momo being Momo, answered the Lord. But suppose the Israelites do not believe me and will not listen to what I say. What shall I do if they say that? What if I tell them and they go, yeah, God sent me. God didn't send you, Moses. But your old runaway, you've been gone all these years, now you come back. You know how people treat you when you moved away and come back? Oh, so you back. You won't come to graduation and give out a gift now. You back. You good, you back. You know how people treat you? Moses is like, well, if I go back, what if the people don't believe me? I know some of you are saying, but what if I go and say this to my company? What if I say this to my team? What if I say this to my family? And they're like, what are you talking about? God is with me. God is with me. I got to remind myself, I'm getting ready to do something unbelievable, but God is with me. The resources are not my resources. The resources are his resources. God is with me. God already has an end. He's telling me what it looks like at the end. He knows the outcome of this thing. God is with me. My season is changing. Moses is saying, what if they don't believe me? What if they don't get this? What if I get in front of people? What if you have to have a season of being embarrassed before you have a season of growth? What if you have to do that? So the Lord asked him, what are you holding? So he says, I don't know if I can do anything. And he says, what are you holding? And he says, I'm holding a stick. He just had a stick in his hand. He's like, I'm out here and I got a stick. The Lord said, throw it down to the ground. And then Moses threw it down. And it turned into a snake. And that joker ran. I mean, it says, and he ran away from it. Now, y'all being all holy, I can bring a snake in here right now. Y'all gone. Some of y'all right now, I just said snake. Some of y'all doing it. Wait, he not about to play. Now, I'm not going to do it. One year I was preaching. I don't even know if I was preaching. I was preaching something about a snake. And I had a box, and I went like this. And I threw the snake out. It was a rubber snake. I ain't going to do it again. Senior citizens got hurt. Babies got dropped. Folks was out. I was like, you done left the infant down here. Come back here. He threw the stick down, and it turned into a snake, and he ran. What I want you to understand is this. When God is stretching you, it's going to feel different. It's going to feel scary. It's going to feel like what just happened. Something that I've been carrying all along transformed after God did something with it. What if God is in the middle of transforming something for you? So he threw it to the ground and he ran away from it because it turned into a snake. Now, again, he's in the wilderness by himself. What I love about God is he'll give you time to work on stuff while nobody else needs to see it. In my corporate America, when I coach people, I have this thing called spotlight and shadows. And I often tell executives, particularly CEOs, to create an environment where you spotlight what somebody's doing well. Like if that's their strength, let everybody see their strength. Make sure everybody sees how good they're doing. But the thing that they're not that good at, let's put it in the shadows and work on it. But we live in a culture where people like to take your shadow moment and put it up front. I know you're not good at this, but we want to put you over this. So I was a really good employee. I feel like I was a good employee. But I did not do expense reports well. Expense reports meaning I used my company card, I had to keep my receipts, you hand it in. It just wasn't my thing. I remember telling my boss, I was like, you know I'm not stealing it. He's like, that's not the point, Chris. So I had to submit my receipt. So he had this bright idea. He said, Chris, we've been working on this, and I know this is a challenging area for you. So instead of you just doing your expense reports, I need you to do them from all 10 people in our district. Now I was sitting at the table, it's Bob Evans, it's kind of like Perkins. And I was like, I slid my pancakes over like, boo-boo, I don't even like doing my report. And then he said, and I want to make sure you do it, so I'm going to make sure you get on the national list, so your name's going to be next to our district. So if our district has one late expense report, everybody's going to know. Thank you for developing me, bro. But what was interesting was everybody else knew Chris is great at this marketing thing. He always comes up with these great ideas. It was moving my territory up. I was performing well. I was number 9 in the country after only being there a year versus other people being there 5 and 10 years. And I was like, why aren't you spotlighting my thing? What God will do, though, is he will take you in the desert. And he will let you work on some stuff till your confidence gets up. See, I've come to tell some of you, you might be in a season where you're feeling forgotten. You're in a season where you're feeling barren. You're in a season out here messing around with rocks and doing stuff. And you're like, I should belong in a kingdom. It's not that you don't. It's just working on something. He throws a stick down and turns into a snake. And then when Moses threw it down, it turned into a snake, and he ran away from it. And then the Lord said to Moses, bend down and pick it up. What if God is going to tell you, pick up something you can't stand? What if God's going to tell you to pick up something you don't think you can do? Because if I brought a real snake, you would be like, Pastor, I just can't. Have you ever seen somebody who don't like snakes? Stop. I don't know what this does, but stop. The Lord said, Moses, bend down and pick it up by the tail. So Moses bent down and picked up this snake that was moving on the ground, and when he did it, it turned back into a stick, and he caught it. Now he's looking back and, wait a minute. I had a stick, I threw it down, it turned into a snake, I pick it back up, it turned back into a stick. And the Lord said, do this to prove to the Israelites that the Lord, the God of their ancestors, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has appeared to you. He said, I'm giving you something. You said, what if I go and they don't believe me? I've given you something. What I've come to tell somebody, all you need is what's already in your hand. You don't need another business plan. You don't need another connection. You don't need another person. You don't need another hookup. You need to take what God has put in your hand and say, God has already given me something. I'm going in rooms. I'm going in meeting rooms. I'm going to go knock on doors and say, I'm ready. Put you in a season of barrenness. Put you in a season by yourself so you could get prepared. So Moses said to the Lord, after that, after a stick turns into a snake and back, you would think Moses would be like, you got me. What does he say next? Pardon your servant, Lord. I have never been eloquent, neither in the past nor since you have spoken to your servant. He says, I am slow of speech. Basically, in one translation says, he goes, I stutter. I'm not good with public speaking. God has just turned this stick into a snake, and he's still talking about his problems. How many of us are doing the same thing? How many of us, God has said, hey, go ahead and do this, and you finding another reason to slow down. Some of y'all got 19 partners. You just needed one. I'm going to get one more person, and then after they say it, just go. Just get ready to go. The Lord said to him, who have given human beings their mouths? Who makes them deaf or mute? Who gives them sight or makes them blind? Is it not I, the Lord? He's like, don't you know who I am? He said, all right, now go. I will help you speak, and I will teach you what to say. But Moses says, pardon your servant, Lord. Please send someone else. You can't switch seasons because you're asking God to send somebody else to do what you're supposed to do. Then the Lord's anger burned against Moses, and he said, what about your brother Aaron, the Levite? I know he can speak well. He is already on his way to meet you, and he will be glad to work with you. So he says, all right, you still won't go, but I'm going to keep you going. For everyone who thought you could stop, that's why you're uncomfortable now. Because God is like, I got to fulfill the call that's on your life. So he'll keep bringing resources and people until you just finally go, all right, God, I'm ready. Remember, I talked about changing seasons. So the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, okay, some time passes, they meet, they talk. He says, I need you to go and get the Egyptians. I need you to tell the Egyptians to let the people go. So then he goes. And then it says later on, he says, when Pharaoh says to you, this is what God says, when Pharaoh says to you, perform a miracle, then say to Aaron, take your staff and throw it down before the Pharaoh, it will become a snake. Well, why does he have confidence that it's going to become a snake? Because he's seen it happen before. Let me ask you this. What has God already done in your life? What miracle has he already done? Come on, think about your own life. What has God already done in your life? Hold on to that to go, if he did it in this season, why won't he do it in this season? See, I believe what God is doing for some of us, he is trying to get your confidence up so that when you have to get in front of a bigger crowd, under a person with a bigger title, you don't go backwards, you stand forward and go, I already know what God is going to do. I got the same stick with the same God who's giving me the same power. So if he did it before, he can do it again. So God, let's go. Time to change seasons. So then he says, okay, when you see Pharaoh, throw the stick down. You know what I'm going to do. You've seen this work. So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and did just as the Lord commanded. So Aaron, his brother, took the stick and threw it down in front of Pharaoh. Not like that. It stayed on the stage. Can you throw it back on the stage? Okay. So he throws it down in front of Pharaoh. Yeah, put it back up here for me. And he says that, and then Aaron threw a staff down in front of Pharaoh and his officials, and it became a snake. Now at that moment, again, I'm telling you, if Moses' name was Momo, and he came from my neighborhood where I grew up, I think he would have been doing one of these. What up, Pharaoh? You see that? You see that? Because you got to remember, they grew up together. They knew each other. They were like them cousins that like each other but don't like each other, right? So he's looking at Pharaoh like, look at my God. How many of y'all feel bad and bold when you see God doing so like, oh, you better do it, Jesus? But what if your enemy strikes back? So after he throws it down and it becomes a snake in front of Pharaoh, in front of all the people, and Moses and Aaron are standing over there, then they look. Can you guys click me forward in the back? I think I'm stuck. Okay, never mind. So then Pharaoh tells his staff, he says, each one of them threw something down. So Pharaoh then summoned his wise men and sorcerers. So Pharaoh said on the stone, oh, I see your little snake. You doing something, Moses? You bad, Moses? So then Pharaoh summons his men, his sorcerers. And the Egyptian magicians also did the same things by their secret things. And then it says each one of his people, then they threw down staffs. And it became a snake as well. But then Aaron's staff swallowed up theirs. When your enemy comes and tries to get you, I told you, you're not getting ready to do this. God is going to be with you. Your job is to go into rooms and throw down sticks and then stand back and see the salvation of the Lord. What are you doing? You scared to throw down a stick? You're scared when you know God did this for you already? You better buck up. You better say to yourself, let's go. I can't stay in winter season much longer. I'm tired of being in this situation. But what I want you to see is when you change seasons, you actually give God an opportunity to do something amazing. So yet Pharaoh's heart, watch this now, yet Pharaoh's heart became hard, and he would not listen to them, just as the Lord had said. When he was back here in the wilderness by himself with his own stick and seeing it turn into a snake, God said, Pharaoh's heart's not going to change. Well, then, it seems like an obvious question to be, well, why send me? You're already telling me this isn't going to work. It wasn't about Pharaoh. It was about Moses. See, what I'm trying to help you understand is some of the stuff you're supposed to do is not even about anybody else. It's about you. This is about you getting a hookup. This is about you getting a position so that you know who God is in your life. See, when you have a full understanding of the rescuing power of God, can't nobody get you back from this. When God has come in and swooped in your life and rearranged and fixed some things, oh, baby, you will throw crystals away. You will start coming to church on time. You will beat me here to church. I'm telling you, when God does something in your life that you can say is undeniably God, there's no stopping you. See, what was happening was he was getting Moses together for a fight he didn't know he was ready for. Moses didn't want to go have conversation number one. What if God said, well, you're going to actually have to have like 10 or 12 conversations? You know what God is doing? He's just asking you to do part one. He's trying to get your faith ready. You ain't got to try and figure the whole story out. Just do chapter 1 right now. Throw your stick down. Go in a room and stand and see the salvation of the Lord. But how dare you to the God who's rescued your life, the God who has saved you. And I know some of you are thinking like, well, I'm trying to remember. Go back and ask an uncle or an aunt or a grandmother. You don't even know how many times God has swooped in your family lineage to keep you here right now. You don't know how many times he saved your life. You don't know how many times he's rescued you. You don't know how many times he swooped in. You know, I heard somebody say this. They were a parent, and they were telling this child, they said, listen, you don't even know what we're doing. We're saving you before you even know you needed saving. Oh, I thought a couple parents would say, come on, preach now. But you know what? God is doing the same thing with you. He's like, you know, I'm rescuing you. I'm fixing stuff. I'm rearranging stuff you don't even know. But see, if you don't understand you have a purpose, then you're like, I'm just living. So what I wanted to close today with kind of a different perspective. So I want you to look at me, the whites of my eyes, if you can, and those who are watching online. I'm so super proud of you. I'm proud of you because you're making decisions right now that maybe aren't easy. Some of you are the only one living like this that you know. You're the only one pressing in. You're the only one trying to live at a standard where the world says you don't have to. I'm super proud of the fact that some of you are making choices and decisions like, somebody told me a couple weeks ago, they was like, Pastor, I have never given $1 to a church in my life. He says, but I'm doing it because I'm trusting God. Not you, I'm trusting the God you talk about. I'm proud of some of you because what you're getting ready to do. I see so many great things. I see many of you walking in rooms and throwing down sticks and saying confidently, God will take care of the rest. Do not cower down. Do not hold back the promises of God that he wants to come through you. There's an entire world waiting on you. I'm telling you, there's a world waiting for you. But I'm proud of you for staying in the game. I'm proud of you for you looking at the scoreboard and you're like, it's kind of against me, Pastor, but you keep getting dressed. I'm proud of you for waking up every morning and hitting that button and going, I got to get out of bed and I got to go. I know a lot of you don't have a lot of cheerleaders in your house. Let me be your cheerleader this morning. You're doing a great job. You're doing a phenomenal job. I'm telling you. And if you would just allow us, you got a community of people who are here to surround you, to tell you you can do it. So what I want you to leave today is with your head high. For those of you watching online, I heard for some of you, I know you're dealing with really tough stuff. We have people calling and watching us from rooms that are difficult places. But he will come and find you in a room. I'm telling you, he can find a way to get to you and pull things aside and pick you up. All I'm asking is don't fight it. Now your head is going to be like Moses. Well, how am I going to change my community? Let God do that. Throw the stick down. How can Pastor, I can't do that in my college. Throw the stick down. Nobody's even on my social media. Throw the stick down. Because what's interesting, I can just go on the internet and I can find you people saved and unsaved who are doing it. Morgan Freeman said he was 50 years old. People are like, dude, when are you going to get a real job? He had been kind of trying to act nothing big, nothing happened, until he was 50. He got his first break in a movie. Then he had a stellar career, and he was telling somebody in this interview, he was like, yeah, but there was 50 years of nothing. And I'm not telling you something I don't think is not public knowledge. You can look it up, at least to understand it. I don't think he's saved. I don't think he claims Jesus as his Lord and Savior. I'm not judging him. I'm just giving you information. Vera Wang, how many of y'all know Vera Wang? Didn't make her first wedding dress until she was like 44 years old. The first one. Stop counting yourself out. Stop saying it's too late. I know for some of y'all who in your 20s, you're like, man, yeah, you start too, boo-boo, you start. Like, it is time for us to get in rooms, throw down sticks, and look at somebody in authority. Now I'm telling you, your legs may be shaking. You might be going, how's this going to work out? Walk in there. Now I'm going to tell you the last thing. I saw a minister say part of this. So camera person, can you get ready? So I saw this person do this. I'm literally giving him credit because I saw this online. I'm only going to take part of what he did, and then God showed me something else. So for me right now, if I did something with this stick and I hurt myself, if I jumped off the stage and I hurt myself, bam, and I hit the floor, nobody around me is going to get hurt. It's just going to be me. But if I get on this stage here and I stand like this, if I fall this way, all of these people will get hurt. What God is doing for some of us in this season, he's giving you time in the wilderness to get your stuff together. So before he puts you on a bigger stage, you don't fall and hurt everybody around you. So let him do some work in the shadows with you. Let him clean some stuff up. Let him get some habits out your life. Let him change the way you talk. Let him change how you believe so that when it's time to get into this room and you stand up, you're not going to hurt the people around you if you fall. But what's even better is this, is what I'm finding, what I need in my life at this time is I need somebody to even help me while I'm standing. So what I'm doing now is I'm trying to start surrounding myself with people that while I'm struggling are going to come and hold me up. What I'm trying to do is get myself in a position where a couple of brothers might come to my rescue right when I get ready to almost fall over. See, if I can just surround myself with the right people, there are times when I'm not even on my stuff, but somebody's holding me up until I can get back up. See, what I'm saying is I'm wondering if you start to get the right people around you. I'm telling you here at Family Life Center, we want to get around you so that while you're walking this thing out, while you're getting scared and tired, somebody's here to hold you up. If y'all don't give God praise, I'm running out of here. I need somebody in my life. I need somebody to say, Chris, you all right. We got you. Who are you hanging with? Stop hanging with people that are going to back up when you need them. Stop putting people in your life that are not going to hold you up. Tell some people, it's been good knowing you. I will holler at you when I get to the top. But I got too much to live for. I got too much I'm supposed to do. And I need some people around my life. But you notice what was interesting? I didn't even have to yell for help loud. But if I was in proximity to some people who were like, hey, Chris, you all right? You good? There was a point that you couldn't even see. I was no longer even touching the wood. But somebody was holding me up. Look at your life. Who's holding you up? God is. You ain't got 3 or 4 brothers? You ain't got 2 sisters who gonna stick with you? I got a friend, we had to go to his house, knock on his door, come in his crib and like, get up, bro. He's like, nah, get up. I said, there's 2 things gonna happen. I'm gonna get in the shower with you, you gonna get in the shower. He's like, I'm gonna get in the shower. Who's in your life that's gonna get you out of bed? Who's in life gonna blow your vision? Hey, when you doing this? When are you gonna do this? Come on. There's an entire nation waiting to be free based on the gift that God has given you. It is time to change seasons. Give God some praise if you got something out of the word today.